Coping with COVID-19, applying a wellness approach. Hello, my name is Dr. Glinda Rawls, and I'm facilitating this presentation for Bible Baptist Church. COVID-19 has brought about several physical and mental health impacts. Stress is one of them. Many people are overwhelmed by stress. Adults are working more from home and helping their children with their homework. Children and teens are learning virtually and have limited contact with their peers and friends. Additionally, there have been a significant amount of job loss during the pandemic, and there are financial stressors associated with having limited resources. Depression and anxiety or mental health issues are another area that has been affected by COVID-19. 17 million adults, or 7% of our population, have depression. Anxiety is the most common mental health disorder. 40 million adults have anxiety, or about 18% of the population. COVID-19 has exacerbated the symptoms of depression and anxiety. In fact, people are fearful of contracting COVID, and many people feel hopeless and helpless about the loss of our normal everyday functions. Over 540,000 people have died from the coronavirus. Therefore, grief and loss is associated with COVID-19. Many people have lost family members, friends, neighbors, and co-workers. Another area affected by COVID-19 is substance use disorders. The coronavirus could make addicts more vulnerable to the complications associated with substance use. The social and psychological risk of the pandemic could intensify drug abuse. For example, according to Nielsen, there was a 54% increase in the sales of alcohol starting the week of March 21st, 2020. Also, the sale of alcohol online was $5 billion in 2020, and that sale number was only $3 billion in 2019. Sleep disturbance has also been a factor with the coronavirus. Since many businesses and employers have shifted the work setting from offices to work from home, people have different work schedules, which have affected their sleeping patterns. Some people are sleeping too much, or some people are not getting enough sleep, and everything in between. Like varying sleeping patterns, many people are also experiencing changes in their eating habits. Some people are eating more, while other people are eating less. And there are other changes, like in one's energy level, moods, motivation. All of those things have been noted as complications associated with COVID-19. So COVID-19 has affected us in various ways, as I discussed. But what can we do about it? I would like to suggest a wellness approach. But what is wellness and how can it help? Wellness is a way of life oriented towards optimum health and well-being, in which the mind, body, and spirit are integrated by the individual to live life more fully within the human and natural community. The key words that I would like to stress are optimal health and well-being. And I'd also like to highlight that wellness is the integration of the mind, body, and spirit. So when using a wellness approach, the focus will be on fine-tuning your mind, your body, and your spirit to produce optimal health and well-being as basically your overall outcomes. There are 6 dimensions of wellness, and I'm going to spend the next couple of minutes explaining each of these dimensions. The 6 dimensions of wellness include environmental, emotional, intellectual, physical, and spiritual. There are two additional dimensions, which are occupational and financial. Each of these dimensions relate to the mind, the body, and the spirit. And I will discuss 7 of the 8 dimensions. So let's get started. Environmental wellness. Environmental wellness is an awareness of the interaction between you and your environment. This environment could be social and natural. So when we think about what kind of strategies might we employ to build up an environmental wellness approach, some ideas that I might offer to you are things like recycling, maybe living a sustainable life where you're gardening. It may also be assessing your environment for health and safety. And lastly, it could also be looking at your social environment, including identifying toxic friendships or relationships. Again, ask yourself, do these relationships promote the kind of environment that you would like to have in your life that is conducive for a wellness approach? Again, these are just suggestions and opportunities for you to consider different ways to employ wellness strategies. Emotional wellness. Emotional wellness is understanding your feelings and expressing your emotions in a very constructive way. It's the ability to handle stress and life's challenges. So think about ways in which you're handling life's challenges, ways in which you're thinking about dealing with some of the stressors that I mentioned in the beginning part of the presentation. And if you're not, then there are strategies that you can employ. Some of those strategies include talking with a therapist, talking about your stressors, talking about some of your mental health concerns. It may also include talking with your doctor about your mental health and or maybe your physical health concerns. The mental health and the physical health sometimes are connected, so it could be very helpful to also reach out to a medical professional. Remember, we also talked about ways in which you can constructively handle your emotions. That could include journaling, thinking about writing down your thoughts and feelings. It could also include developing a gratitude journal where each day or each week or each month you focus on things that you're thankful for. A wellness approach, intellectual wellness. One of the things that you may want to think about with intellectual wellness is, what is it? It is engaging in creative and mentally stimulating activities. It is expanding or sharing your knowledge with others. So when you think about what strategies can you employ to really build your wellness approach in the area of intellectual wellness, think about reading, thinking about joining a book club, thinking about doing a crossword puzzle. Searching for learning opportunities could also be a part of really trying to intentionally build your intellectual wellness. It could be thinking about starting a hobby or developing a hobby or developing a skill. Or if you currently have a hobby or a skill, think about ways in which that particular hobby or skill really builds your intellectual wellness area. Physical wellness. Physical wellness involves making choices to avoid harmful habits. It also includes practicing your physical health and safety that really support an overall physical wellness approach. Some strategies related to your physical wellness could be ongoing exercise where you take walks, you ride a bike, or you engage in any kind of exercise that really fit your health needs and or your interest. It could also be getting regular heart and health screenings. It could also be looking at getting those normal routine checkups at the doctors. That's taking care of your physical wellness, your physical health. It could be eating healthier, committing to drinking more water per day, or thinking about ways in which you could get more sleep. Your social wellness. Social wellness is building and maintaining a diversity of supportive relationships. It involves dealing with interpersonal conflict. So let's think about, how are you building the kinds of supportive relationships that would help build your social wellness approach. Some things that you could think about in terms of strategies are connecting with family and friends. Despite the pandemic and our inability to be able to physically see someone, think about ways creatively that you could connect with friends or family. Mail a card, send a letter, or maintain or use technology to maintain some of your connections, like Zoom or WebEx. It also may mean mending those relationships that might be strained, or those friendships that might be strained. Again, addressing your social wellness might also include dealing with interpersonal conflicts. Spiritual wellness. Spiritual wellness involves having beliefs and values that provide a sense of purpose, and then acting in alignment with those beliefs and purpose and values. And some of spiritual wellness strategies could include praying, meditating, and thinking about, how often do you pray or meditate or study the Word of God? Or how often do you attend church, either physically and or virtually? But again, it could also be engaging in acts of goodwill and charity, or acts or activities that have a good goal and purpose and have a sense of fulfillment. Occupational wellness involves getting personal fulfillment from your job or your academic pursuits, particularly if you're a student or a young person. It also involves maintaining work-life balance. And I know with COVID-19, work-life balance has seemed to be one of the struggles that individuals most often deal with. So one of the things that you may want to think about in employing a wellness approach when it comes to occupational is thinking about, how can you find work-life balance? Are there ways within your day that you can think about in terms of restructuring your day to create and carve out time for yourself? Are there ways in which you can really think about increasing your knowledge or skills for a particular career or academic advancement? That's what we were talking about when we talk about occupational wellness, is ways in which you can increase your knowledge or capacity. But it also may mean thinking about ways in which you can pursue your academic goals or your career goals. And have you been real intentional about thinking about focusing on your occupational goals and where would you like to see yourself? Or if you're in retirement age, what would that retirement post-work life look like? And being real focused and intentional about setting that goal. So as I reviewed the 7 different dimensions of wellness, I would like to take note of the strategies that I recommend. And I would like to also recommend that these strategies can be helpful for some, but some of the strategies may not be applicable. In that case, one of the things that I would encourage you to do is feel free to develop or create your own strategy to fulfill your wellness dimension. Make the wellness approach your own. Think about ways in which you could personalize your own journey. After learning about these various wellness dimensions and considering and thinking through the various strategies that you would like to use, I think it's important to assess which dimension of wellness needs greater attention in your life. I've provided a link to an assessment that you can use. And I'll also try to attach the assessment in an email correspondence to the church family. Remember, the purpose of this virtual workshop was threefold. One, it was to educate the church family on the dimensions of wellness. Two, it was also to introduce strategies for applying a wellness approach. And three, it was to encourage church members to evaluate and focus on your mind, body, and spirit, and look at and evaluate how those concepts apply to your own life. Building one's mind, body, and spirit will facilitate one's optimal health and well-being. And I encourage you to focus on your wellness. Identify the dimensions of wellness that need greater attention in your life. Some dimensions may be more developed than others. And focus on building those dimensions that need attention. Again, as I keep saying, personalize your wellness journey and approach. And the one takeaway from this presentation that I would like everyone to have is to focus more on wellness and your wellness journey as a means or a way in which it could help you cope with COVID-19, and really focus your attention on the mind, the body, and the spirit. Well, I hope that you find this presentation to be helpful, and I want to thank you